hello to everyone who is watching this Q&A session for the film Wandering, a Rohingya Story, featured in the 15th Refugee Film Festival. This is Suzanne from UNHCR Hong Kong, and we have Olivier Higgins and Mélanie Carrier, the film directors and producers, here with us to share more about their thoughts and also observations when visiting the Kutupalong refugee camp, which is the largest camp in the world. This year, the theme of the World Refugee Day is safety and the right to seek asylum. The documentary has reviewed why refugees should be given not just the right to asylum, but also humane treatment to live with respect and dignity. And this documentary is a beautiful record of the lives of many Rohingya people living in Bangladesh, comprised of compelling testimonial from Rohingya refugees from all walks of life. And this film starts with these words on the screen. All I want is freedom. Freedom to be a teacher and teach. Freedom to be a doctor and cure. Freedom to be a friend and hear what my people say. All I want is freedom. And this was narrated by Kalam, a Rohingya refugee. It was written and told in such a poetic and captivating way. And so my question to both of you would be, could you tell us more about Kalam and why you chose to put this very poetic start at the beginning of the film?
Yeah. Actually, we met Kalam because of a friend who's directing the photography of the film. He's a documentary photographer. And he met Kalam on his first trip to the camp. And they became friends. And when we decided to go back there with Renaud Philippe, I went there, and then so he presented me Kalam, and Kalam worked with us. And at first, it was not the idea to include Kalam's story and Kalam poems in the film. But after a while, we realized that his story was really touching, and when we came back here, we wanted the film to be poetic, and it happens that Kalam was posting on Facebook many poems that sometimes it was written or taking from different places. So we asked Kalam to write poems for the film and also share his personal story in the film. So that's how it became the line that we follow through the film, through his poems and his personal story.
Mm-hmm. That's nice. And how about for Mélanie? Do you also find this kind of like a coincidence to meet Kalam in the trip introduced by another friend is kind of like a very a miraculous thing that happened and that sets the tone for your documentary?
Well, it's kind of miraculous because before the shooting, the idea was to try to make a very poetic film, even if the subject is very hard. And the whole idea was to just get very deep into this, the largest refugee camp in the world. And when Kalam started so Olivier and Renaud, they filmed that way, to make sure that the images were very respectful, but also very poetic. And all the story with the ghosts and everything was part of their mind when they were shooting. So when Kalam started to write poems, we were like, oh my God, it's just perfect. I mean, it's perfect because it was exactly what we wanted to express in the film. And I think that the poem Freedom, he wrote it on the internet, but after that we asked him, can you write something about love? Can you write something about, and finally it was the line that we followed all along the movie, so the documentary. And I think it's important to let those voices I don't know what happened. the screen just cut. Is it fine or?
It's fine on your side.
I think the network just break down a little bit in the middle, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. yeah, I hope it's...
Maybe you can say a word about how you filmed to make those images look poetic and the ghost story and everything.
Yeah, the whole idea at first, was really, it was kind of that poetic idea was the goal of the film to be able to do something in a way to have the courage to, because it's hard to treat about a subject like this, and to do a film which will be cinematic and poetic, and when it's about a really tragic situation, you always walk on a thin line, about how you deal with such a situation, and you want to make a film and you want to make poetic images and things like this. So it was kind of, we knew it was kind of hard and dangerous, and I think the way we filmed and the way Calame wrote his poems really blend together. And then we also in the camp, it was really hard to film because the conditions are really, really hard, or it's raining really hard, or the lands are so dusty, or we don't eat really well, or and we have to move fast, or things like this. But at the same time, we really wanted to feel those poetic experience, like to have in the film poetic images. So it was kind of a challenge to. So sometimes when you make documentaries, you have to take risk, and moving your camera and knowing you have 5 seconds to do that, and you choose to do that move because of. So it's kind of we did the film not in a journalistic way, like we didn't film in a journalistic way, but more in an artistic mindset,
Yeah, and I think that the first idea was to we didn't want to make a movie about statistics. We thought, well, because Renaud Philippe, who is a photographer, his images are his photographs are very, very beautiful, even if they're hard, but at the same time, they give us a lot of information. So the whole idea was to let those images talk by themselves. We didn't want to have like an avalanche of statistics. We thought, well, those images that will be long will allow the viewer to just get into the camp and get all the information they need. And with the poetic way add to this aspect, we thought it was very human, finally. A human way to touch the people and to make sure that they understand what's going on in the camp,
And sometimes, like informations and didactic informations, like with numbers and things like this are important, and facts and history and things like this. But I think also when you take the time to observe what is there, it is also important. And sometimes, news goes fast, and when we thought about the film, we thought about news that you hear the news at night, and at one point you have they talk about the car accident that just happened a few hours ago near your home, and then the next thing they're talking about the millions of people that they just died, and so it's just passing from a small short story thing to big stories, and you don't, like you cook, you're at home, and you don't, and then you continue your life, and you don't take the time to absorb what this old picture is about. And so we thought that like taking the time to observe what are the conditions of the camp could be important, and that's what we did. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's a really good point, because just like you said, like news is flashing in and out very fast, and we forget about people suffering. And this is also actually why we organize the Charity with Refugee Film Festival every year in Hong Kong, because we think that providing audiences with the chance to just get immersed inside the film and just to really step into another person's life to understand what they have been through, this would be really important, and that give us the time and space to think also. So I think it was also mentioned in the film that the Kutupalong camp is just like a maze that is removed from space and time. And this line really strike me. Just did you share the same feelings when you visiting the camp, and how do you both actually just navigate inside this maze when documenting the lives of different refugees?
Yeah, Mel, because Mel was here, she stayed here, so I left. I went in the camp with Renaud, but Calam was really our guide there. So we just, he was really guiding us in the camp because he lived in the camp, and so we were going to see his friends, and we were telling him like we would like to meet this kind of person, or maybe we would like to go there early to have a good point of view on this and this. And so he was guiding us, but yes, it feels like a maze where it's all tents and like corridors between tents and mounds and things like this. So it really feels like this, and out of space and time, because like they've been there for a long time. The camp exists since the 90s, and it just got bigger in 2017 when the crisis went big. But so the camp just boomed and became really big. But in terms of time, it's just so long, and like they don't know how long they're going to be there also, and it's a place where it's not really recognized by the world, and like like the Bangladesh say like they're not supposed to be here, but the Burma said they're not supposed to be here, and then so where they belong, and so it's kind of a no man's land for us, like, so that's why we in the narration we put that like a maze out of space and time, because we just don't know like how long it's gonna last.
And I think it's what we spoke with a lot of refugees, mostly Rohingya refugees, while we were making this film, and I think it's also a feeling that refugees share. Like I'm sure that if we were speaking with a Ukrainian refugee right now, I believe they feel that it's all out of space and time. Like you cannot. It's very hard while you are moving from your home, or when you are just getting away from the war, just to fill the time. Like it's just you're out of space and time. So I don't think it's only in Kutupalong. I think it's maybe what a lot of refugees feel as in their lives,
Yeah, I think you mentioned that this is kind of like a shared experience that no matter where we are from or what race we are, and it's just like so common, and it's possible that happens to anybody, and that's why like this kind of poetic setting or this genre of documentary really helps people to just understand the situation and can imagine the pain inside the experience.
Poetry is universal,
And maybe that's why at some points we thought like, do we put more informations about the history, and we thought no, like it was not. We had to say like they came from there, or but like do you really want a map, or do you really want to know? Like we just wanted to be there with the people and look at human beings like living in a situation, and human beings that have been through tragedies in genocide, so that's why we didn't want to the person watching the film thinking of politics and things like this. We really wanted to the person watching the film to connect with the person, thinking, to connect with human beings,
And that's why we end the movie like this. When in the narration, Kalam says, "Who's next?" I'm not only talking about us, about my people, but who's next. So, and I think that's what we have to ask ourselves too. And that's why we need to stay aware and to make festivals like you do, and to try to make documentaries about our projects about those situations. It's so important. Yeah.
And the kids also, there's a lot of time in the film where we see kids just playing. They could be from anywhere in the world. They're
playing soccer,
they're just playing soccer. If it was not about this camp, it would be in South America, or it would be in anywhere, and it could be like kids playing in field, and they're laughing and they're playing in like everywhere. And so there you observe them for many minutes, so you are with kids, but they're just kids. They're not Rohingyas. They in your mind, they have no religion. They have no they are kids playing soccer. That's it, So that's what we wanted also with the film.
Mm-hmm. And it's the reality also. The kids are playing the man that is the voice of the narration. It's not Kalam. It's Mohamed Shafi, who is living in Quebec City in Canada for 12 years now, and he became a friend because he helped us a lot during all the translation. It took almost a year to translate all the interviews, and so we became friends. And it was impossible to go back to the camp and register the voice of Kalam to make the narration. So it's Mohamed Shafi, who is a Rohingya, who lived in Kutupalong camp for 18 years, so he knows the camp really well. And he explained, and we have another project with him, because once you open this door, you cannot close it. It's open for all your life, I think. And so he was just saying, I miss the camp. And we were like, you miss the camp? He said, all my childhood, it was, for me, it was perfect. I was playing soccer. Of course, he suffered a lot, but in your in his imagination, it was his childhood, and that's it. And but it's when he grew up that he realized that, well, no, it's not normal.
Something else.
It's not normal to not eat, but he realized that later in his life, and now he's working a lot for his people from Canada and association. Yeah, I don't know where I wanted to go with that, but it's interesting to know that he just said, well, I miss the camp, but of course, for example, his sisters still live in the camp, and for him it's the worst thing to be separate, and to know that his sisters still live in very hard conditions. But yeah.
I think it's really important just to have people like you both to connect with refugees or former refugees who have been resettled in a third country, and just to bring these people together and just to amplify the voice and speak up for refugees and displaced people around the world. And it's a very important thing. And I guess when I was hearing you sharing about that friend's story, that he's missing the camp for some parts, and of course we know that for other parts their lives inside is really hard as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think one thing that I noticed from the film is also Rohingya refugees actually are doing many things by themselves. They are building their own shelters, they are teaching and sharing knowledge among themselves, and this show the tremendous resilience they have in all aspects of life inside, and when you were actually filming in the process, how did you feel when you actually witnessed that very active participation inside the camp and also the incredible mobilizing power to just bring people together and create a better home in Bangladesh?
I don't know. It's hard to answer, but it was kind of a, yeah. You know, like I've been there for 20 days in the camp, so I couldn't, like, I'm not a specialist, and I've not, you know, like, we've done our best to listen to people, to Kalam, we talked a lot with Shafi here after, and then we met the organization, Rohingya Human Rights Network here in Canada, to discuss about the situation. But like when I was there, it's kind of a glimpse, you know, like for me as an outsider. So like, but how I felt, it was the first time in my life I was confronted with like really tragic stories of like mothers who have seen their kids thrown in the river, and you know, well, they have seen their burn, their husband died, and things like this. And so yes, you see those people getting involved and like really smiling and constructing, building shelters and things like this, getting involved. And yes, you see this movement, and at the same time, 15 minutes later, you're with this woman who lost her child and things like this. So it's really contrasting, you know. So it was like bouncing between, for me, I was kind of bouncing between yes, resilience, but at the same time the reality of what people have been through, and also the idea of the film was to talk about ghosts, and ghosts that you carry, you know, like for generations and generations. Also, like, you know, really people that see ghosts in their nightmares, you know, like they dream about Burma, they dream about escaping, they dream about like people being killed and things like this. So but also the ghosts that they will have on their shoulders for generations. So yeah, it was the kind of for me a contrasting situation between resilience and sometimes the happiness of the kids playing in soccer, and then this reality when people were sharing their stories.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts from Mélanie?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's amazing that in this place with the mousson, how do we say mousson in English? Monsoon. Sorry, I speak always French, so my English is not very good. But with the monsoon, with the floods, with the land that is always like
the
landslide, and so the Kutupalang camp is in a place where if you want to live, you need to be resilient. Like if you want to stay alive, you always need to rebuild. But that's why it's out of space and time too. You know, it's always beginning again. It's always coming back, and the flood, the monsoon, the
parasite, yeah.
So
getting your like making lines to get your food.
It's a huge like human lesson. You know, it's a huge like how the resilience of these people and
human trafficking, like just you know, it's just.
But they're still there, and they still believe in their cause, and they still very proud to be Rohingya, and they still believe they will go back one day in Burma. You know, and they just build back the roads, and they rebuild their houses, and sometimes there are huge fires in the camp, and they're rebuilding. So I think their resilience is a humanity lesson. I don't know how to say that. I think everybody, maybe that's one thing that we need to se souvenir, like to remember from the movie, just how human being can be strong and resilient. And the other thing is that for me, with this movie, as I said before, for ourselves, we open a door in our mind about the reality of refugees around the world. And of course, it's not everybody that can go in a refugee camp and see what's going on and really understand what's going on there. But I hope after seeing Wandering a Rohingya Story or other film in your film festivals, there's this door in their mind that open, and next time you go to the grocery store and you meet someone and you don't know, maybe he is or she is a refugee, you have no idea. Like we met 2 days ago a photographer that she came here for an article, and she was taking photograph, and she asked us about our projects, and she said, well, I'm a refugee, and you cannot know that just by looking at her. So I think that I hope this movie is going to open some doors and make sure that we try to understand more people around us and open our heart, and yeah.
But at the same time, when we were talking about with our friend Shafi, who's narrating the film, he said, like, I don't remember where, but some people asked to Shafi, do you have hope? And he said, no, like the hope is gone. Like, I hoped before, but now, like, I'm just doing things, And
I'm trying to.
He's doing things, but he's not hoping now, like. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it's kind of about the resilience also, like, and that's maybe how he felt when he was there. He said I was not hoping anymore. It was just like living, like doing what I could do to live, and I had to do, like life want to live, and you just and sometimes you laugh and sometimes you cry, and it was just part of so.
I really get what you mean, because here we also have a saying, kind of like you do something not because you see the hope, but it's more like you can only see the hope when you keep doing something. So
yes, exactly.
That I understand it. So yeah,
that's
I guess many people are even though we're not really like experiencing tough lives like the refugees and displaced people, but still, like, in different sense, we kind of understand that, like, sometimes we just try our best and just keep moving and surviving and try to do something.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned, sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead.
You also mentioned about the monsoon seasons faced by many Rohingya people inside the camp, and just a side note for audiences watching this Q&A, actually every summer people there are really facing severe flooding, and just last summer it was like I think one of the biggest flooding inside the camp, and it has really caused thousands or hundreds loss of lives, and many homes were damaged. And in UNHCR, we have been supporting with the humanitarian needs on the ground and distributing like life-saving items, and also helping them to repair their makeshift homes and trying to find some safer locations for them around that camp. So I think there are still a lot more we need to do for these people, especially when we are still finding lasting solutions for them with the just vast number of people who have been really stranded inside the camp for years. And it's just so important to just remember these people's tragedy, and even though sometimes we are quite distant from these events, but they are really living through it every day. So this is just so important to have a film like yours to just remind people about that. And I think one part that you also mentioned is human trafficking, and this was also actually mentioned inside the film. And I think maybe about this issue, we know that many young people or children, they actually just have to risk their life somehow for a better future, because they know that they can't really find jobs, or they can't really move further in their studies inside the camp. So I just wondering, have you have the chance to talk to any of these families that may have encountered this issue, like maybe they have their kids trying to be trafficked or leaving the camp by irregular methods.
Yeah, we met some a man and a woman. His wife came near, and then we discussed with Calam and Renaud and the man about the situation of he lost his daughter, and the family was looking for her daughter for many days, and then finally the man found where the daughter was, and he went there, and then she said, it's not my father, because they ask, is it your father? And then she said, it's not my father. And then the person asked the man to go, and then he tried again, but after he couldn't get her daughter. And then it was people from like political organization and religious organization in the camp. So what the man was saying is that, like, even not only human trafficking, but also inside the camp, people from, like that are supposed to be there to help, sometimes are part of the system. So that's what the man was talking about, So yes, and it was really confronting for us to be there and like not being able to do anything about that,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the situation about human trafficking is just so complex, and it has many different sides, and it's not like with a single solution that you can tackle. And here at UNHCR, we keep calling for renewed support and are working hard in finding solutions with international communities just to help those stateless and displaced Rohingya people so that they can see the hope and have the opportunities to have a brighter future, so that they won't opt for like leaving the camp, taking those dangerous journeys. And in the meantime, we also need to ensure like forcibly displaced people can also get humane treatment, which is also one of the key messages we want to bring out in the World Refugee Day, that we need to protect them from the exploitations of traffickers, because sometimes like they didn't really imagine the risk during the trafficking journeys, and they should have been informed better about before making any decisions about their future.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's like when people just leave the camp, you can maybe talk about that.
Like somebody else here, Rohingya from Quebec. She's now here, but she lived also 18 years in the camp, and her sister was coming to Canada. She tried for many years to get her papers and things like this, and she had to go to India first. So she had to pass through like the illegally from Bangladesh to India, and then they paid somebody to cross, but they got they got kidnapped, and she got raped, and then they lost her for 12 days, and then finally she came back. But it's a tragic story, and then she finally got here in Canada. But passing, like when trying to pass from one point to another, they really risk their life all the time,
And even, Calam, finally he left Kutupalong, so he flew to India, and even there it was very hard, and nowadays it's still really hard, because the government, what he says is that the Indian government tried to expulse, to expulse the Rohingya there, and so he is very afraid to be exposed to Burma. So he is thinking, well, maybe I need to go back to Bangladesh because I don't want to go back right now to Burma. I don't know what's going to happen with me.
Yeah, he's scared to being put in a plane back to Burma. So he's thinking about maybe I should go back to the camp in Bangladesh. So he still, he would still cross the border. He crossed the border from Bangladesh to India, and then he would cross the border again to Bangladesh illegally. So he just don't know what to do.
Yeah, so it's not easy once you're. This is our daughter Beatrice, everybody. Yeah, she will go to bed.
She's supposed to be in bed,
to sleep. Yeah, here's the night. But well, yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes. She speaks French, so.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Yeah, my very poor French. Okay. So I think there is one thing I want to address here is you mentioned about the fear of being repatriated back to their home country, and actually, because this year we are talking about safety and the right to seek asylum, and here one of the messages is also about having no pushbacks, and it's just so important to just give the chance for those people to stay in another country that they won't be exported back to where they may have their life in danger. Their freedom may be threatened. So it's really just very important that we have some sort of systems to help these people, and they can see the pathway to stay in a safe place.
Yes.
I think moving to our final question is the Rohingya crisis has actually lasted for years, and I know that you both have been working so hard with different projects and also with this documentary to just remind people about the loss of refugees and call for more solidarity. So from your perspectives, what would you recommend our audiences to do in order to support refugees after watching this documentary?
It's really hard because it's a really hard question. I think the basis is, as I said before, is to open this door in our head and in our heart, and try to understand that there's people all around the world that are suffering a lot. And when you encounter your neighbor or someone on the street, you never know their stories. So we have to, I think we have to think like this when we encounter new people, and to be very open-minded, and to make sure that you listen to their stories. I think that if we listen to the stories of others in a respectful way and with an open mind, there's a lot of things that can change in the world, and it's very simple, but because it's very hard to have concrete actions. Like we try to make documentaries, we are working on other films about refugees because we think it's very, very important, but it's not everybody that can make films or that can help or that they can give money but just to in the way of listening to the stories of other people, I think there's something there that can happen. But I don't know what you think. Yeah.
Sometimes people are asking like, did your film change something, or and we say like we don't know, like we just we made that.
We hope so. Yeah.
It's hard to know like what is the impact of a discussion or a film or a recording, or I don't know, like sometimes like you're a photograph, or you never know, so you're doing it the best way you can. And so like I think that talking more about it through different to films or
festivals
in the news or festivals or things like this, or I think it's a good way to that it can become more a normal subject, even in schools, you know, like, oh yeah, the refugees are the you know, like they're coming, and it's just like part of what we should do as a society, you know, like that
what
work,
we should know,
that we should know and what we should do. So for me, you know, like growing up here in Quebec, Canada, it took time before I realized that, you know, like you hear, oh, there's a war there, or, you know, but you're a teenager, but really that people can be displaced to another place and they don't have home, and then they're looking for asylum in some places and things like this, and it took me time to realize that, and I think it should be more in the curriculum at schools, even to discuss about this, or to know that exists and things like this. So I think it's about your question, what can people do? It's maybe be aware and listen to other people's story, and even sometimes, you know, discuss about that, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. It's a very good point. Yeah.
So a final remarks from me is that actually just yesterday we announced the latest figure about displacement, and right now we have actually already 100 million people displaced globally speaking. So it's about actually 1% of our population. And that's why when you said like refugees are actually parts of our community, they can be around us and we should treat them with respect and as normal people. And just like actually, if you can see the poster behind me, it's actually Einstein. And on it, it's right something like Einstein was also once a refugee, and he's so talented and he changed the world. And just like the Rohingya refugee friend that you of you both, and I think this would be the final remarks from me. And thank you so much for both of your fruitful sharing. And I truly believe that this poetic documentary has really opened up the door for all our audiences. Imagine this film has arrived in Hong Kong to reach here.
Yeah.
And we can all understand more about the lives of Rohingya people, and also experience the struggles in our shared community. And this is like what defines us as humanity, I think, here. And for those people who is watching this Q&A session, and thank you for joining us. And if you would like to learn more about refugee stories or our work in UNHCR, you can visit unhcr.org/HK. And thank you once again, merci beaucoup for everything. And yeah, have a good evening.
And if people want to learn more about the project and the collaborators about the film, Calam, Shofi, Renaud, and other people, and we also did a museum exhibition with different artists here in the National Museum for the Art, and you can go on wondering-themovie.com. And then there's a lot of information. Yeah.